Hopefully I can continue my heater.
Yeah, you've been on there.
Tori unmuted early.
Am I unmuted? Hi, chat.
Hello, everyone.
We are unmuted. What's going on, everybody? Welcome in to BetUS Uprise live here on a Monday. It's a Monday. Also, I got you on the screen now. Okay. Hopefully, you guys are having a good start to your week. We got 11 games for picks against spread today. We got to talk about Malcolm Brogdon. We had an eventful post-game show last night. We ranted a little bit about some things. So if you haven't watched it, feel free to go watch it. But yeah, we're gonna talk. You are not muted anymore, sir. Yes, we are.
Hello.
We are good with the mics now. Good with the mics now. We'll see if Eric can continue his heater today in picks against the spread, because he has been on one. And I'm looking forward to talking about some trade stuff, Eric, because after last night, the Blazers got to trade Malcolm Brogdon, and we're gonna go into it. We're gonna explain why and talk about maybe a couple destinations, and that's going to be today's stream. Before we jump into picks, though, how's it going?
Not too bad. Just got home from work, and I'm excited to talk to all of you.
Yeah, absolutely.
How's your day going, Tori?
Going good, man. So, yeah, I recorded an ad video that you guys will see later. This stream is brought to you by Manta Sleep Mask. And also recorded a video that I will be uploading later tonight discussing the unfair flack that Anthony Simons unfortunately gets. So hopefully you guys enjoy that one. But I know they enjoyed the hot mics at the start. Little behind the scenes look before a stream. So, yeah, you know, been a while since we've had a hot mic, so always good to give the people a little sneak peek. I'm just pretending like I meant to do it. Anyway, let's jump into picks against the spread. We got 11 games. Let's see how fast we can go through this. I got everybody's picks that I need before the stream, and then these are the standings. We're still trying to catch up with chat right now. Arrowmans are still 2 games behind. Everybody did relatively good on Thursday, except for Chase, who was 1 for 6. Steven was 2 for 5. But Crushables, Eric, got crushed. He was in 3rd. And then he went 0-7.
Poor Crushables.
You hate to see it. So, Everybody has those days, right? Like Hannah Montana says, you know. And, we'll see if
says that.
What's the song go? How does the song go? I forget. I don't know. I'm trying to pull off a millennial reference here.
What song are you talking about?
I don't know. It's been a minute since I've seen Hannah Montana, so
Okay.
No idea. But I'm in 5th, tied with Jackson. Connor 4th. We're kind of bunched up here between Connor and Trevin. Eric, you're in 3rd. You got a chance to take the lead with 11 games today, and Arrow in second. We'll see if we can knock off Chat. I just want Chat to not be number one. I'm rooting against Chat. I'm rooting for their downfall.
Wow.
Yes.
What did Chat do to you?
They've been up too long, man. I want to see someone else up top, preferably me, but even if it's Arrow, even if it's you, believe it or not, I will take someone else in that top spot just to knock Chat down a peg. Arrowmancer's been calculating who sides with the majority, and Chat sides with the majority of picks 90% of the time. It's actually kind of wild. So Groupthink has one out so far, but we'll see if we can change that. First game of the day, Eric, we got the Cleveland Cavaliers hosting the Houston Rockets, and Cleveland is a 4-point home favorite.
All right. In this one, we got Amen Thompson and Victor Oladipo out for the Rockets. For the Cavs, they have Evan Mobley, Darius Garland, Ty Jerome, and Ricky Rubio all out.
Who was out for the Rockets, you said?
Amen Thompson, Victor Oladipo.
Oh, yeah, they have Oladipo. I always forget that. I'm going to go...
It's been on every injury report.
Yeah. I'm going to go Rockets. I kind of like filter out his name when you talk injuries. Don't really think about it. Crushables is Rockets. I'll rely on you for the picks in chat, and you said Zach sent picks.
Yeah,
so.
Jackson, Arrow, Connor, all Rockets.
Jackson, Arrow, Connor.
Amen got hurt at the beginning of the year, and then he's played a few games in the G League. They brought him up, and then he got hurt again. I don't think it's serious, but...
Cavs for 503, Rockets for Chase, Rockets for Steven.
Zach has the Cavs.
Okay, Zach is Cavs. So we need Eric and we need Trevin. And we need Chat. Chat is Rockets, 58% of the vote. And Trevin is Cavs, and Eric, we need your pick.
I'm gonna go with the Rockets.
Okay, Eric is going with the Rockets. So 503, Zach, Trevin, Cavs, everybody else Rockets. Game number 2, you got the 76ers hosting the Bulls. The Sixers are 10-point home favorites.
All right. Bulls have Torrey Craig, Zach LaVine, and Lonzo Ball out. The 76ers have Marcus Morris out. Big. That's big.
That's huge.
This one's tough because Philly's been killing teams at times, and 10 points. I'm gonna go with the Bulls. Points.
Was there anybody? I forget who's out for the Bulls. I keep forgetting.
For the Bulls, it was Torrey Craig, Zach LaVine, and Lonzo Ball.
Zach LaVine. I'm going Sixers. Steven went Sixers. Chase went Bulls. 503 went Sixers. Yeah, this is a tough one. For sure.
My cam's frozen, by the way. Not that it matters or anything. Aeromancer says that it sounds like we're hearing his thoughts.
Bulls for Crush. So, Bulls for Connor and Jackson. And then Sixers for Trevin. And then what's Zach?
76ers.
And then what's Arrow?
Aeromancer said Bulls.
Arrow's Bulls. Chat is 76ers. You got a split vote. Next game, we got the Pacers hosting the Clippers. Clippers are 4-point road favorites.
All right. In this one, we got Bones Highland, Musa Diabate, and Mason Plumlee out for the Clippers. For the Pacers, they're without Miles Turner, Jalen Smith, and Andrew Nembhard.
This is a tough one. Crushables is going Pacers.
I like the way the Clippers are playing, so I'm going to take them.
Noah is Clippers as well.
Zach is Pacers.
Okay. Chase is Clippers. Steven is Clippers.
Arrow, Jackson, Trevin, Connor, all Clips.
Arrow, Jackson, Trevin, Connor.
Yep.
Chat is Pacers. I'm also going to go Clippers. I feel like this is two teams trending in opposite directions.
Yeah, Pacers haven't played well lately.
Yep. So you got 9 people on the Clippers, Zach, Crushables, and Chat on the Pacers. Alrighty. Game number 4, you got the Miami Heat hosting the Minnesota Timberwolves, and the Timberwolves are 2-point road favorites.
All right. For the Timberwolves, they are only without Jalen Clark. Looks like Anthony Edwards and Jaden McDaniels are playing. For the Heat, Kyle Lowry and Drew Smith are out. Bam Adebayo, Tyler Hero, both available and back tonight after missing several games. You're muted.
Yeah, I wasn't saying anything. All right. So, we got Steven going with the Wolves.
Zach is Heat.
Okay, Zach Heat, Steven Wolves. We got Chase Heat. 503 Wolves. And Crushables.
Wolves.
Wait. 1, 2, 3. Crushables doesn't have a pick for this game.
Well, he would pick the Wolves.
Yeah, we'll just go Wolves. I'll text him. No, I got him. I already texted him. There it is. I was looking at it, and then I counted it. He only had 10 or 11 games picked, so... all right.
The 4 mods in chat all said Wolves, except for Aeromancer said Timberwolf FS. Timberwolves.
Timberwolves. These 4 have been agreeing on, like, everything so far today. Okay. What are you going with, Eric?
I'm taking the Miami Heat.
Eric's taking the home team Miami Heat. I'm just not going to go against the Wolves until they slow down a little bit. It's tough to. Chat is going to go Wolves. And Crush is going with the Wolves as well, like you called. So we got Eric, Zach, and Chase Heat. Everybody else, Wolves. And next game, we got the Atlanta Hawks hosting the 2-24 Detroit Pistons, and the Hawks are 12-point home favorites.
Oh, man, this game. The Pistons are without Isaiah Stewart, Killian Hayes, Jalen Duren, and Monte Morris. The Hawks are without A.J. Griffin, Jalen Johnson, Mohamed Gee, Kobe Buffkin, and Bogdanovich just changed from questionable to out. The Hawks, Bogdanovich, not Bojan Bogdanovich of the Pistons. He's playing.
Crushables is going with the Pistons.
12. I think
503 is going Pistons. Chase is going Pistons.
I'm going to take the Hawks.
Okay. I'm going to go Pistons. Steven is going with the Hawks. Connor Pistons, Arrow Pistons, Jackson Pistons.
Zach Hawks, if I didn't say that already.
Trevin is Hawks. And chat is going with the points, and it looks like they are also going Pistons. So despite the Pistons being a train wreck, I mean, that's why the spread is so high for the Hawks. So it's still, in the end, close to 50-50. And we got 8 versus 4.
Speaking of 50-50,
yeah,
I was 50-50 on the first game. So if I didn't pick the Rockets, chat and I would have every pick different right now.
That's interesting. That's intriguing. Yeah. So we'll see if you can keep up that hot streak, and we'll see if chat completely falls off.
Let's go.
Next game, we got the Raptors hosting the Charlotte Hornets, and the Raptors are 12-point home favorites. Two 10 and 15 teams as 12-point favorites.
Spreads, man. All right, Charlotte has Gordon Hayward out, Mark Williams out, Miles Bridges out because he couldn't get into the country. Nathan Mensah out, LaMelo Ball out, Frank Ntilikina out, Cody Martin out. And the Raptors just have Christian Koloko out.
This is so gross, bro. Projected lineup for the Hornets: Terry Rozier, who's been great this year; Bryce McGowens, Brandon Miller, P.J. Washington, Nick Richards.
I mean, the Raptors should easily win this game, but I do not trust them at all to cover a 12-point spread. So I'm just going to take the Hornets.
I don't trust them either.
And the points.
Hornets for Trevin, Raptors for Jackson. I'm just not going to take 10 and 15 teams as 12-point favorites.
Yeah.
Is kind of where I'm at right now.
I mean, a lot of people, like, when they bet, they just bet, like, trends like that. They don't necessarily, like, look at the teams even, you know?
Yeah. For Steven is Hornets. Chase is Hornets. We're taking the points today, man.
Zach is Hornets. Jackson's Raptors. Oh, you got that already.
Yeah. Zach Hornets. Okay.
Arrow Hornets.
All right. And we got 503 Hornets and Crushables Hornets. And chat is Raptors, 78% of the vote. They almost got an island because Crush and 503 are Hornets.
Chat just continues to... That's weird.
Yeah. I mean, they picked the Pistons last game with the points, and then this game they were overwhelmingly with the Raptors. So interesting stuff from chat today.
The people voting today understand what a point spread means, so that's good.
Yeah, that is good. You can tell just because it's completely different. This is the second time they've really gone against the majority, so they're with Jackson on this one. That might end up being their double down. I'm not sure the other percentages, but...
so right now it is.
It would have been funny if it was an island double down for chat. I don't think we've ever had that, or at least this year, last year. OKC's hosting Memphis, and OKC is 10.5-point home favorites. Speaking of big spreads.
Yeah, I believe this is Jaw's last game suspended. But they have Derrick Rose, John Morant, Marcus Smart, Luke Kennard, Brandon Clark, Steven Adams all out. Bismack Biyombo doubtful. And then the Thunder have no injuries.
I'm going Thunder.
10.5. I'm also gonna go Thunder.
What'd Zach go with?
Zach went with the Grizzlies.
Zach has an island.
Yeah.
Because everybody else is Thunder. All right, next game, we got the Denver Nuggets hosting the Dallas Mavericks. This is a pretty good matchup. Nuggets are 8.5-point home favorites, though.
I don't know if he'll respond or not, but. All right, the Mavericks have Derek Lively out, Kyrie Irving, Josh Green, Maxi Kleber out as well. Sean Holmes questionable. Luka Doncic is probable. For the Nuggets, they have Vlatko Konkar out, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope questionable, Aaron Gordon and Jamal Murray listed as probable.
Eight and a half points is a lot. Eight and a half points is a lot.
Yeah.
What are you going with, and what did Zach go with?
I am going with the Nuggets anyway.
Nuggets.
The Zachary is going with the Mavs.
Chat is Mavs. We almost just had the bottom bar there with Mavs, but we got Zach Mavs as well. So a good old 4v8. Next game, we got the Utah Jazz hosting the Brooklyn Nets, and the Nets are 4-point road favorites.
All right. Brooklyn is without Dennis Smith Jr., Lonnie Walker, and Ben Simmons. The Utah Jazz are without Omer Yurtseven, Keontae George, Jordan Clarkson, and John Collins is questionable. Lucas Sandwich playing. We got Jackson and Trevin going Nets.
I'm going to go Jazz.
Zach is going Jazz as well.
Nets for Connor. Alright, and then we got Crushables and Nets. We got 503 Nets. We got Chase Nets. And we got Steven with the Jazz. Okay, we got Arrow. Still waiting on his pick. What are you going with?
I'm going to go with the Nets.
Okay, chat is Nets.
Zach is going to take his island. Let's go.
Nice. And then Arrow is...
Not picked yet. Nets.
Nets, cool. Got the black and white graphic, basically, with this one. I guess Nets Spurs would have been even better. But...
Thank you, Zachy.
Alright. Me, Steven, Zach, or Jazz, everybody else is Nets. 2 games to go. You got the Kings hosting the Wizards. The Kings are 14-point home favorites.
All right.
Also, look at the over-under on this game. 250 points.
Crap.
Go ahead.
The Wizards are without Landry Shamet, Danilo Gallinari, Johnny Davis, DeLon Wright, and Ryan Rollins. The Kings have Alex Len out, De'Aaron Fox questionable.
Steven's going Kings. Chase is Kings. 503 is Kings. Crushables is Wizards.
I'm about to take a 14-point spread. Arrow's going Wizards. You let me know in chat. Zach is Wizards as well. Yeah, I'm gonna go Kings.
And chat is Wizards. Wizards have been playing better last couple of games, and this is a wild spread. Especially with the possibility that De'Aaron Fox might not play. Alright, so 5v7 there. Final game, we got the Lakers hosting the Knicks in the battle of big markets, and the Lakers are 4.5-point home favorites.
Alright, in this one we got Mitchell Robinson out for the Knicks. For the Lakers, oh, this is messy. Jalen Hudson-Fino and Gabe Vincent are out for sure. Questionable are LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Christian Wood, and then probable is D'Angelo Russell, Jared Vanderbilt.
All right. Well, I'm gonna go next then. Crushables is next. We got 503 Knicks. Chase is Knicks.
Arrow's gone Lakers.
Steven is Lakers. Trevin's Lakers.
I'm gonna go Knicks.
Connor's Knicks. Your Knicks.
And Zach is Lakers.
Zach is Lakers. And Jackson is Knicks. And chat, I guess, is doubling down on the Knicks.
Someone with 100%.
Yeah. That's
Super.
wild. That's wild. So Zach, Arrow, Steven, Trevin, Lakers, everybody else, Knicks. All right, time for double downs. We already got a few in there. I'm doubling down on the Wizards.
All right. Zach's going to take his island.
Crush double down on the Knicks. double down. And Trevin and Arrow are Clippers.
I'm also taking the Clippers.
Dang, okay.
Ouch, this is not trying to complain, but I'm at work wearing headphones and can barely hear Tori.
Hello? Here, I can turn up the gain on my mic a little bit. I'm not exactly talking loud, so.
Yeah, we're just kind of mumbling. That might be it. OKC for Jackson.
Yeah, and then Connor.
Connor says, Tori been quiet lately. He was Timberwolves, though.
Chat is Knicks with Crushables. So you got 3 people going with the Clippers. That's Eric, Arrow, and Trevin. Crush and Chat are going with the Knicks. Connor and 503 are going with the Timberwolves. Zach's going with his island, which is the Grizzlies. I'm going with the Washington freaking Wizards. Jackson's OKC. Connor is Timberwolves. Steven is Nuggets. And that is picks against the spread. Thank you to everyone for participating. And before we get into things, first a quick word from our sponsor. Are you struggling to think of that last-minute gift idea with Christmas right around the corner? Well, I got the perfect gift for you, and it's a Manta sleep mask. Manta is a company that's dedicated to giving its customers a good night's sleep. Their sleep masks are extremely comfortable. The band adjusts to any head size, the eye cups are adjustable, and the accessories are phenomenal. They have steam cups, they have cooling eye cups, they have aromatherapy, they also have many different types of masks. This is the Manta Sound Mask, which comes with adjustable Bluetooth speakers that you can connect to your phone and listen to whatever sounds you want to as you fall asleep. And these are all reasons why a Manta sleep mask is a great Christmas gift for the loved one in your life. Because gifting someone a good night's sleep shows that you care about them. You care about their health, you care about their well-being. So if you want to get a Manta sleep mask for yourself, or you want to get it as that last-minute Christmas gift, check out the link at the top of my description box below and use the promo code Uprise for 10% off your order. Doing so also helps out the channel, so you're giving me a gift in a way. And with Manta, you can stop stressing about what to get for Christmas because they got you covered. Shout out to them for sponsoring the channel. All right. Yeah, once again, thank you to Manta for sponsoring this stream. All right, Eric, let's talk about the subject matter, which is Malcolm Brogdon. Malcolm Brogdon. Is Tori the GOAT commercial maker? Yeah, I've been having fun making commercials, man. It's fun. Malcolm Brogdon, I think he needs to get traded. So last night on our post-game show, in case you guys did not catch it, we kind of ranted a little bit about Scoot Henderson playing what might have been his best game of the year, but only playing 22 minutes. Malcolm Brogdon plays 27 minutes and finishes the game with the Blazers' 3-guard lineup. The Blazers have had to play more 3-guard lineups. You got, of course, Anthony Simons, Scoot Henderson, Shaden Sharp as the 3 young core guards, but then you got Malcolm Brogdon in there kind of clunking things up, and last night just made me realize if Scoot Henderson's going to be playing that well and only getting 22 minutes because you're getting Malcolm Brogdon 27 minutes and we're 6-19, you absolutely have to trade Malcolm Brogdon at this year's trade deadline. He makes more sense on a contender. He's been a good veteran mentor, I guess, for these young guards, but you got to move on from him. You got to see what you can get back on the trade market, and you got to take the best deal. Do you agree, Eric, or do you disagree?
100% agree, and bonus points if you take back like an expiring or something as a bulk of the salary. That gets you, because he has another year left on his contract, so that helps with flexibility this summer. And not being pressed up against the tax or maybe even into the tax heading into the summer where we have to maybe cut salary. So I think, the package I would be looking for is, an expiring and a good first I'd probably take, right? An expiring and 2 crappy firsts maybe. An expiring and an okay first and an okay young player or something. Just something like that. It was what I'd be looking for.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I think in hierarchy of like our expensive veteran players in terms of how much I want them traded or how much they need to be traded, given what they could fetch on the market, it goes Malcolm Brogdon number 1, DeAndre Ayton for me number 2, and then Jeremy Grant number 3. I still think the Blazers should explore Jeremy Grant, but I don't think it's something where they have to trade him. I think it's just, your direction is you're probably not going to be good enough to make any legitimate noise until 2 to 3 seasons down the line, and at that point, is Jeremy Grant still going to be playing at the same level? If not, then that contract probably isn't really good, and if not, then you're probably looking to upgrade him by the time you're ready to make serious noise. So instead, cashing in on him early when this might be the best season he has in his career because he's been pretty dang good this year, does make sense in order to try and build towards that window of time when the Blazers could make noise. Don't listen to anybody that says that trading Jeremy Grant is idiotic or stupid or like, why would they give him up? Okay, because it's all about timeline. It's all about window, right? If they were trying to win a championship this year, well, 1, they already would have failed. But 2, then obviously you probably keep Jeremy Grant. You don't trade him for first-round picks, but it's not about this year. It's always been about the future. So if there's a trade out there for any number of veteran guys that increases your likelihood of winning a championship in the future because you get future first-round picks or future assets that you can then swing in a trade for a star later on, then you absolutely have to explore it, especially with a draft coming up where the Blazers, I think, are likely to draft a front court player at the 4 or 5 spots that maybe is the long-term starting power forward or center. So that's the calculation with like a Jeremy Grant, but it's not something where they have to do it. They can wait until the offseason. They can even keep him 2 to 3 years down the line, and maybe he's still playing at this level when they're ready to make noise, and if so, then it's fine keeping him. But with Malcolm Brogdon, he, by the time this team is ready to make noise, if they keep Simon Sharp and Scoot Henderson, Malcolm Brogdon is going to be the 4th guard. He's the one who ultimately would end up having his minutes get cut. So cashing in on his value as soon as possible makes too much sense. So, as you said, like a first-round pick and expiring, I think, is the bare minimum. If you can get back more than that, then we're good. I think Scoot starting to play better has made it a little bit more obvious that Malcolm Brogdon needs to be traded, because if Scoot Henderson was still playing like he was the first 5 games of the year, then nobody would have been complaining about him only playing 22 minutes last night. I mean, maybe there would have been complaints that you want him to learn from his lumps, to go through his struggles and learn from that, but with him playing better, it's even more infuriating for me to see him playing 22 minutes because his development is absolutely paramount and nothing should get in the way of that, especially Malcolm Brogdon, when we're sitting here at 6-19 and it's going to end up being a tanking year at the end of this season anyway.
Right. Yeah. So we got Preston in chat says, trade the big piece we got back in the Dame trade 25 games in. I laughed my ass off. Y'all are unbelievable.
I mean, that's just a silly comment. He's not the big piece we got back in the Dame trade. The big piece we got back in the Dame trade was A, DeAndre Ayton. B, was the future unprotected first-round picks.
He's talking about Ayton.
Oh, I mean, that too. I mean, why do we have to keep Ayton? If Ayton's not the answer...
Maybe he's talking about Brogdon, but...
I don't know what he's talking about. I mean, no matter who he's talking about, it's kind of a silly comment. It's all about maximizing the future. You don't look at the past when trying to maximize the future. You look at the future. So why are we looking at the past to maximize the future? Like, it's team building stuff. JP Savvy says, bro, people legit don't understand how team building works. Yeah, we haven't been in a rebuilding situation in so long, and I think it's kind of obvious given some of the stuff that I've seen said. It's all about maximizing the future. And if they have multiple future firsts, right? You got the 2029 Boston first, 2029 Milwaukee first, both those unprotected. You got pick swaps from Milwaukee. If you can add a couple of firsts at this year's trade deadline, as well as a couple of young players through the draft with the Warriors pick and the Blazers pick, 2-3 years down the line, you're in position to trade for an all-star, right? Where if you cash in right now for first-round picks for some of your vet talent, you probably end up with a better pick this year, right? Like, they're probably going to end up sitting Jeremy Grant and DeAndre Ayton at the end of the season anyway while we tank, right? But then also you're in a position where you can clear up some of the salary books, accumulate more assets by taking on salary possibly, or maybe be able to sign someone that can be a key part of the team long term, and you're able to build towards that eventual all-in move. You're able to build towards putting the right role players, right pieces around the team with some of the salary you save if you trade some of these guys for some expiring contracts. So it's all about how you build the team to climb that mountain. It's going to take multiple steps. It's not something where, oh, we got Ayton back and Brogdon back in the Dame trade, so these guys have to be a part of it, right? Because if you flip them for if you flip Brogdon for a first-round pick and expiring, you basically got that back out of the Dame trade. Same thing with Ayton. So,
do you want to answer this? Why not keep a young center? Then we have a big hole there as well. Let's just keep filtering guys in and out. LOL. If Ayton can net you some serious picks, then sure, but I don't see that happening.
Because Ayton just simply is not the answer, and he's simply not that good. That's why. If he was good, sure, then you'd have a valid point. But Ayton he doesn't do much.
This is it's one of the most difficult things about being a GM and being like making trades and things like that. So you make a big trade, you get praised for it. Everyone's like saying how masterful you did, like not giving in to Dame, right? And you pull it off. You get Ayton, Brogdon, Robert Williams, and a bunch of picks and swaps and all that kind of stuff, right? And you're feeling yourself a little bit, but a good GM wouldn't let that factor in to future decisions about whether that trade worked out and whether you need to cut bait with someone or make a move and correct a mistake you made. So like that's what happens to a lot of GMs. They just refuse to admit that they made a mistake and hold on to someone while their value just tanks, and it's obvious that they're not the player that people were hoping they would be when they traded for him. You can hope that someone breaks out when you trade for him, or you can maybe see potential in someone from another team's roster that isn't getting minutes. But if they come in and you are 25 games into the season and it's pretty clear that they weren't that answer, that's a really underrated skill of a GM, is being able to recognize that early enough to move on quick enough to not let it become a problem down the line.
Yeah. And what if he's a malcontent in the locker room? What if Chauncey doesn't like him after dealing with him for 25 games? You still hang on to him in that situation? Because you can't... If Chauncey wants something else at that spot, which is very possible, and he's a malcontent in the locker room, which is also very possible, then what? So that's the problem with Ayton is overpaid, right? And you can make the argument that contracts shouldn't matter, but the Blazers are going to be pushing the tax this year. I want them to have the full mid-level exception instead of just the taxpayer, which they won't use. They won't go into the tax. So it's basically like no mid-level exception, right? So it's, $11-12 million to spend in free agency, or maybe nothing if they keep Ayton instead of potentially flipping him for some expirings. But then also, if you do trade Grant for expirings, if you do trade Brogdon for expirings, like if you can get into the opportunity of getting some cap space, then obviously trading Ayton for expirings gets you cap space. So regardless if you're below or over the cap, if you're able to shed some of the salary owed to Ayton, you're able to open up other pathways to add to the team. But then also, if he comes with problems, then in the locker room, like if he comes with problems, where he's clashing with his coach, just like he did with Lonnie Williams, then you probably just don't want to deal with that problem. So there would be multiple things at play there. And simply put, like he's not the answer, in my opinion, at the center spot. So if you can move off him with that salary, which I think is quickly becoming one of the worst contracts in the league, if you can just get off of that, I think it's going to be a bonus, because you don't want that weighing you down over the next 2 or 3 years for a dude that might not want to be here. is a malcontent is coming off a stretch where he has not played hard the past couple of games. Like, he has played extremely lazy. Like, there's just a lot of problems, a lot of red flags, and not enough upside for DeAndre Ayton on that deal for it to be a legitimate positive asset to this team. So that's where if you move off him, you're just eliminating that problem. You're starting from scratch. If the Blazers pick near the top of the draft, they could be picking Alex Sarr. They also have the Warriors pick, right? And Donovan Clingan should be around there. Like, you're going to probably find the answer at the center spot in the next 3 to 4 years anyway, and it's probably not going to be him.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily fair to say malcontent or that he's unhappy or whatever. He seems fine. That's just who he is as a player. That's just, I don't think he has like an attitude problem. It's just his attitude isn't like a winning type attitude, you know? So I think there's a difference.
He has an attitude problem. I don't know. Like, but
yeah, I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen that as a Blazer yet. I mean, he's done some poor things, been lazy at times on the court, and that kind of stuff. But I wouldn't call him like a cancer or a malcontent yet. I don't know. I think that's a little unfair so far.
All I'm going to say, Eric, is that it is a possibility, which is what I said. It is a possibility.
But yeah, I mean,
can't go into stuff, but
that's the problem. If that stuff starts to come out at some point and it starts to be like something that's publicly known, then yeah, you're probably stuck with his contract for the rest of it.
Taylor, I'm just going to let you know you don't. I mean, we can talk off air, but I'm not just BSing you. Let me just say this. If he ends up getting moved before next season, it shows that stuff happened. I think that if they could get anything of value back for him at the deadline, they probably would. I don't think that they think he's the long-term answer at the center spot. I think they took a chance on him, seeing what a new situation could do for him, and it has not panned out the way that they hoped, because I don't think they willingly would have traded for his max contract just for him to give this level of production where he's having a down year. Chauncey isn't really utilizing him. Like, he's not showing any signs of growth. Like, you don't trade for a dude on a max contract for what Ayton's given you. So I don't think that they are satisfied or that he's given them what they expected. So there's just definitely something off with this situation, and it could definitely result in him getting moved. But it's like we're celebrating the dude averaging like 11 points, 10 boards on a max contract. I mean, why?
Do you think, let's just say, I don't know what team that would be, but let's say a $30 million expiring contract, the team calls and offers it straight up for Ayton. Do you think the Blazers consider that, or is that like way a little overboard?
I think they'd consider it. I mean, it just depends on how much has gone on that we haven't seen.
Yeah.
So, it's just speculation. Maybe not, but I don't know exactly how they view it, but I don't think they're as high on him as they were when they got him.
I mean, how could you be?
Yeah.
It would be silly if they were.
But that's what you were saying with GMs is like a good GM is able to cut his losses, right? If you take a risk and the risk doesn't pan out and you need to cut your losses, a good GM recognizes when he needs to do so and is willing to do so, even if it might make him look bad to the public. Like, why'd you take on this guy just to trade him, So, like, if he traded Ayton for an expiring at the deadline, I would actually give him props, because it would be a sign to me that something went on, right, and that he didn't pan out the way that Cronin thought, and Cronin cut his losses despite the optics not looking great. Cronin realized that he needed to cut his losses. Like, that would actually show me as much as maybe any other move he's done, just the fact that he would be able to recognize when he needs to cut his losses and being willing to take maybe some of the flack that comes along with that.
All right, let me just clarify something. So Elizabeth Allen says when you get a player cheap to try and make a reclamation project, he has to then get better and get demand. No one wanted Ayton for free from Phoenix, and he's doing the same or worse. No one wants him. Let me just clarify that. It's not that no, like there were lots of teams that would have taken Ayton for free last summer, but Phoenix was also looking for they needed a starting center that they felt comfortable with replacing Ayton. So like a lot of those teams that would have taken Ayton had like I don't let's just say like the Charlotte Hornets, for example, right? And they would have offered like Gordon Hayward for Ayton, which is something that maybe we could explore doing, like Gordon Hayward and Nick Richards or something for Ayton, that kind of thing. Get a young center on a cheap contract and a big expiring. But like Phoenix didn't necessarily want that kind of situation. So I think it's a little different if all you're looking for is cap relief or like young players and not necessarily trying to be a contending team. It's the same thing like when we tried to make trades when we're trying to win with Dame. Like there were certain players or certain deals that could have been on the table that had a lot of value or whatever, but it didn't necessarily match with what the team wanted back in a trade. So what didn't make good partners. So I think Ayton still would have a couple of teams that would take a chance on him for an expiring and hardly any assets back. But I don't know. It's going to have to. They're going to have to do it soon. I think. I think the longer you wait, the harder that'll be.
It's just baffling to me that we've seen the Blazers miss out on opportunities, miss out on using their MLE, even trade guys for nothing because they're butting up against the tax. But we're sitting here at 6-19 and we're acting like contracts don't matter when we're butting up against the tax.
Yeah.
I don't understand that.
I mean, in theory, if they somehow traded the 4 vets, so I'll say Brogdon, Grant, Ayton, like I know Ayton and Thibault aren't like super vets, but like if you traded those 4 and got back like picks and expirings or something, and like not even really any other assets, just think of how much like nicer our cap situation would be going forward without any. I mean, Anthony Simons would be our only big contract on the books. Our second biggest contract would be Robert Williams, who's got a really reasonable contract if he stays healthy. And then you're talking about Scoot and Shea and our first round pick this year and stuff as our biggest contracts. So with the cap, the way it's jumping up, that gives us a ton of flexibility moving forward to add pieces later on that fit better with this roster.
Yeah, we're in asset accumulation mode.
Mm-hmm.
We're in asset accumulation mode, right? Like, I understand if you truly think Ayton is more of an asset than anything we'd be able to accumulate with the savings from his contract, but he's not an asset to me. To me, if anything, he's becoming a negative asset. Like, the way he's played recently is not something that you want as a starting caliber player for a championship team. He was able to be that for Phoenix because he played better, but also he was in a perfect situation. He had Chris Paul and Devin Booker feeding him the ball constantly, right? It was as good of a situation as I think you could have found for him, having those 2 guards, pick and roll heavy players feeding him the ball. The thing is, though, is they viewed him as a problem in their quest to win a championship. That's why they got off him for Yusuf Nurkic and Nasir Little. So the guy that had been there that they spent a number 1 overall pick on, they felt like he was getting in their way of their quest to try and win a championship. And you can say maybe they were misguided in thinking so. I'm not here to argue whether they were or not, but that's what they felt. That's what they felt when you had Ayton quitting on possessions in the playoffs and Durant and Booker getting on him for making mistakes and him taking it personally and getting in his feelings and this and that, right? That is why they moved off of him. So it's hard to sit here and make the argument that, like, yeah, when this team is ready to make noise, he should be the starting center, especially given how he's played the past couple of games and other stuff. So, you know, people say he's still young, but he hasn't improved in the last 3 years. If anything, he's worse now than he was 3 years ago. And most of it is probably mentally, but what has he brought new into a season where it's like, yeah, you can definitely tell he worked on that the previous offseason, right? With Nurk, you could tell he had worked on his three-point shot. Even if people thought maybe he shouldn't have, you could tell with his improvements being able to shoot the ball that he had worked on it in the offseason. With Ayton, it's like, comes into a season and you're asking yourself, what does this guy work on during the offseason? So I don't even think he truly loves the game of basketball, to be quite honest with you. He plays it because he can make a lot of money, and I don't know. Like, I just don't get that's just my own interpretation. I could absolutely be wrong, and maybe I'm an asshole for saying this, but just watching him play, I don't get the vibe that he loves to play basketball. So it's something where I'd rather just have the flexibility, because I don't see what we're getting out of having his $32 million contract on this team. And if you can open up other avenues, open up flexibility, open up opportunities to be opportunistic with trade exceptions, etc., I'd rather do that. Because if you're butting up against the tax, you can't use a trade exception to take on a player. You know, maybe a team wants to get rid of an $8 million player and we have a trade exception for it, and he's a guy that would fit really well on this team and we would want him. If we're butting up against the tax, we're not able to make that opportunity. If we're butting up against the tax, we're not going to have a full mid-level exception. We're going to have no mid-level exception. So it just puts ourselves in a situation where we are kind of set in stone and don't have flexibility. And if good opportunities present themselves, we can't take them over the next 2-3 years if we just hang on to that contract. So his contract is very relevant, in my opinion. I don't understand how it's not.
Yeah, I agree. And I find myself wondering if we just had, like, this is going to be a really stupid example, but are we much worse off with Drew Eubanks as our starting center right now? And the fact
You'd
that
probably be doing a lot of the same stuff that Ayton's doing right now.
But the fact that I have to think about that is, like, that's the problem. But, like, I mean, at least, you know, I think his energy was overrated. He did take some plays off, but for the most part, you knew you could count on him to come on the floor and give his all on the court. Whether it was good or not is another question. But, like, he tried hard. He set screens. He rolled well. He finished pretty well. You know, like, you know, he chased blocks and stuff. But is that worse than someone not even playing defense or, like, taking possessions off on defense? So, like, and that's an extreme example, maybe, you know, because Eubanks was out of the league at the time when we picked him up. But, like, I just think we have, especially if you keep Grant, we have the scoring. We don't need a guy who needs shots, really. We just need, like, a lob threat and someone who's going to give a ton of energy and just be relentless on the court. And that's why I'd like to just see what, like, a young, energetic rim running big could do in this lineup that doesn't necessarily need a lot of shots.
Yeah, absolutely. Somebody that if you dump it off to them 10 feet away and they have a lane, will go to the rim and finish. Like, you know, so just don't think Ayton's the answer. Like, if they can move off of him, get off his contract, I'd do it. I think it's funny how when we made the awful trades with Norm Powell, Robert Covington at that trade deadline a couple years ago, the whole talking line was, well, look at how much flexibility they got, right? But now it's like contracts don't matter at all with this team in the situation they're in. It's just, I don't think that is entirely consistent. So that's how I feel about Ayton. Like, I'm not a fan of his play. I'm not a fan of his attitude. I gave him a chance to come here and improve and take this chance and do more with it, and instead he's doing less. And blame probably goes to more than just him on that, but some of the blame does go to him. So, but Brogdon, they have to trade. Ayton, I think they may be willing to move off of if they don't have to give up assets to get off his contract, but I don't know if there's a team out there that wants him given his production this year in his contract. Like, and that says everything else that we need to know, in my opinion. So that's just kind of how the hierarchy works. Like, they should explore trades for all three of Brogdon, Ayton, and Grant. I think they can hang on to Grant. I would rather move off Ayton than Grant. If you get an offer of like 5 first-round picks or something insane for Jeremy Grant, like, you have to take it. But I think he's the one guy that I'm cool with going into next year being in the starting lineup on this roster. As far as Brogdon goes, they should be able to get value back for him, luckily, and they need to because he's clogging up this guard rotation, and it's a problem.
Yeah, EB Interior asks, does the new CBA demand teams have salaries at least 95% of the cap? It doesn't demand it. It's just you get penalized and have to pay the difference between. I don't know. The penalty maybe is a little harsher in the new CBA, but basically how it worked previously was if you were under like 90%, I think it was, of the salary cap, you just had to pay your players on the team the difference. So it just like went into a pool and got dispersed between the players. You didn't like have to get over the salary floor. You just had to pay the difference of having that salary, but you still got to keep that salary flexibility all season. And I think that's really important. But the thing is too, we could use that flexibility this summer to take on contracts. And then, like OKC did for years, you take on guys that you maybe think you can get value for later, and you try to, like Brogdon, for example, this year, you take on a guy like that, and then you hope that down the road you can get a second-round pick or a first-round pick or whatever the case may be for him, and you just keep doing that kind of stuff. And you might get a pick to take on that contract as well.
Yeah, like basically it's not something that's guaranteed to be available, but you just want to be able to pivot in any direction when you're in a rebuild in order to accumulate assets, because when other teams are trying to get over the hump to contend, they're, willing to value maybe what they're getting more than they should or more than a rebuilding team would, right? Like if they're trying to clear up money to use a full mid-level exception on a player that they think completes the rotation, they might be willing to give something up to do so, right? And if you're the Blazers, it's a great deal if you have the flexibility, doesn't hurt anything, and you're accumulating assets, right? So that's basically the dance between contending teams and rebuilding teams. Is contending teams trying to get over the hump allows rebuilding teams to accumulate assets on really good deals. You just want to be in a position where you're able to be opportunistic, to use to be able to strike on those deals, to be able to use the trade exceptions that the Blazers currently have. And if they trade Malcolm Brogdon, they could get another trade exception that's a decent-sized trade exception. You want to be able to use them if a good opportunity, buying opportunity, asset accumulation opportunity presents itself. You want to be able to use the full mid-level exception if there's a player that could be a good part of the core that's available on the free agent market. If you have cap space and are one of a couple teams that can take on a $15 million salary that a team's willing to get rid of, you can ask for more in terms of assets on top of that, attached to that, if that team really needs to get rid of that salary. The new CBA, there are stricter penalties for being in the super tax. There are going to be teams that are a little bit more desperate to shed salary that are butting up against that super tax line. So it's legitimately just comes down to being opportunistic and having the ability to strike when the iron's hot. And a deal like Ayton's makes that harder. It actually eliminates opportunities because At the end of the day, Jody Allen is not going into the luxury tax with a rebuilding team. She wouldn't even do it with a team that was supposedly trying to win. Okay? People will tell you she's willing to spend if it's right and she's willing to pay the tax and this and that. I'm never going to believe that until she actually does it. So until then, the status quo is she ain't paying the tax. That is basically like a hard cap line. That's basically like a line that we are not going past, at least until we start making serious noise, which is going to be 2 to 3 years from now. So that's how I view the entire situation. That's about as well as I can sum it up. That's about as well as I can sum it.
So Devin Ford asked, do you guys think we should give Ayton the season to see if he progresses at all, or no, because we've seen him in the Phoenix situation? In my opinion, it'd be too early to move on from him in February.
It depends on his attitude and his relationship with Chauncey's feelings on him, and what you could trade him for at the deadline. There's a lot of factors that go into it potentially being the right move to trade him at the deadline compared to waiting out the entire season. There's still stuff that we need to see play out. So until then, it's hard to answer that question.
For me, it's even if you just ignore the Phoenix situation and look at what's happening right now, okay? You have 3 guards who we don't necessarily know this about Scoot yet, but Sharp and Anthony, I think you can say without a doubt, thrive in pick and roll situations as a ball handler. And we have a center that does not set good screens. And as a roll man, what does he do? If he gets the ball around the free throw line, what does he do?
He's only shooting the mid. He's not attacking.
He's shooting, right? So, yeah. If you're hitting some of those, that's great. But you basically have someone that you can't make like a hub or like a connector, like he showed some passing ability earlier in the season. That's completely gone away. He looks for his shot pretty much every time he touches the ball now. And so you can't use him as like an offense creator. And then on top of not getting your guys open off of screens, you're also almost always standing in the paint, like I mentioned last night, or right around the top of the key. So any drives, they have to not only navigate the defense, but navigate wherever you're at, clogging the paint up or clogging the middle of their drive. And so then you think about it, well, maybe it would hurt losing him on defense, right? Well, like he's doing nothing to help our defense right now. Like he's actually been like a negative the last few weeks on defense. So it's hard to imagine him just all of a sudden turning it around and becoming like the defensive force that we need. It's just not his mentality or his game or whatever. And he's not a good communicator either. And he's not like the way our defense is set up, we need to have like a guy who is on top of everything and just has a high IQ and knows how to tell players where to go and what side to, or going under or over screens and things like that. And I don't think he's like that. He's just worried about what he's doing on the court. And you need that kind of general out there from the backside of your defense that can kind of command where everyone goes. And so, I mean, I don't know. Like it's totally fair if you think that Ayton still has potential to do those things. I just look at the way this team is going to be made up in its best form, and that's with Scoot, Sharp, and Ant becoming stars, maybe trading one of them, but at least 2 of those 3 being the main pieces that you build around, right? And I don't see Ayton fitting with any of those 3 player styles on the court right now. And So to me, that's what I was saying earlier. A good GM will say, now you're seeing that. I need to fix this mistake. I tried, it didn't work. Let's see if a different center can work this year. And what does it matter this year? We're not winning anything, right? And then instead of, oh, well, I'll just give Ayton like 2 seasons to see if it works out. And then you're stuck with him for 2 seasons and you still don't have an answer at center when you could have gotten the assets or the flexibility to add a center. Because like even if you didn't get a center back in the trade, and like I said, you make a bunch of trades for expirings and stuff, there's someone like Nick Claxton this summer, 24-year-old center. I think it'll be 25 by next summer. So he's like same age range as Ayton and has shown the ability to be that rim running, rebounding, defensive center that we need. And I think would fit in a lot better with him. And then maybe he's a little healthier version of Robert Williams. And then maybe if Robert Williams is ever healthy at some point, you have a decent 1-2 punch with those two. And you can start to see how the team could form. I don't think you're getting Claxton in a trade, but if you had cap space, that's when you can overpay for guys and steal someone like that from a team. And so I would, and it doesn't even have to be Claxton. Like, we can go through again. I mean, we've done this before, but like every draft has had a decent center, not even in the early top 10 or anything. Like you can get them in the mid-teens to even the second round. You can find centers. So like you don't have to waste a high pick on him either. So like I just kind of, I don't know. I'm not necessarily as over Ayton as you, but I just think it's pretty clear that he's not going to just like all of a sudden develop into the center that everyone wants him to be.
Yeah. Anyway, I think that's it for our stream. We'll be live again tomorrow after the Suns game. I got wrecked tomorrow, so Suns guys, Suns Valley podcast, they always do their watch party. If I join, it would only be second half. I'm not sure yet because I got wrecked. So, but we will have a post game for that. That's Nurkish's return to Portland, so that'll be interesting to see what sort of reaction he gets. So that should be a fun game tomorrow. So we'll have a post game. We can dive into some more trade talk and stuff because it is getting to be that time of year. There is less than 2 months until the trade deadline, so I'm about ready to start talking about that. So anyway, thank you for joining us on Blazers Uprise Live. Anything else, Eric?
Well, thanks everyone for watching. Hope you have a great rest of your day and hope to see you all tomorrow.
Yep. Once again, shout out to Manta Sleep Mask for sponsoring this stream. If you need a last minute Christmas gift for anyone in your life, check out Manta Sleep Mask. They make for a great gift. There's a link in the description box below to their website where you can browse all their products, and you can use the promo code Uprise for 10% off. It helps out the channel, so it's like giving me a gift as well as giving somebody else a gift. So you don't have to stress if you're stressing about getting a Christmas gift because Manta Sleep Mask has you covered. And with that being said, we are out of here. Hopefully you guys have a good rest of your Monday, and we will see you tomorrow. Until then, as always, peace out. Go Blazers.